Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well. I'm afraid you most likely are getting me in something you've seen before, but as soon as I finish this, I have to beetle somewhere. So I am afraid this is how I'm dressed for the rest of the day. And so I don't have time to change out of this into something else. So I'm awfully sorry. You're going to have to get me in something you've seen before, I suspect. So anyway, on the subject of seen before, shall I congratulate Holly Willoughby for having taken the wise decision to spend more time with her family? Now, I do not exult in anybody's distress, especially somebody who only enabled somebody to attack me, and really didn't actually so much attack me as run protection against the person who was willfully attacking me unfairly, lying about me, and trying to destroy my ability to earn a livelihood. I refer to the Philip Schofield interview when he tried to ambush me and devastate me unsuccessfully. And she was supporting him. And I'm afraid I've got a very good memory. I never forget a kindness, nor, it has to be said, do I forget an injury. I might forgive it, but I never forget it. And she has wisely stepped down from Good Morning Britain because she understands that her career as it was is over, because of the mistakes she made while she was presenting Good Morning Britain with Philip Schofield. Some people call it karma, I call it consequences. And she has realized that her position is totally untenable, that there is no way she's going to be able to claw back the position that she had, where with him she had a degree of popularity, which, it has to be said, was 6 times out of 10 based on him attacking people, and while he was attacking people, she was backing him up. So all the sympathy-serving guff about certain threats and the possibility of kidnap attempts, ludicrous. I mean, I was subjected to kidnap threats, as were my children, and I did not use that as a get out of jail card the way she has been using it. The fact of the matter is, say what she will, the reality is she realizes that she is suffering from something called just desserts. Now, while we're on the subject of just desserts, let's transfer to New York, where there are incipient just desserts. If what the newspapers were saying and the magazines would be anything to go by. But before we get into that, I'm going to read a statement from Harry, the Duke of Sussex. He says, in relation to their attempts to use children and certain abuses online to further their being Harry and Meghan's agenda of censorship, because remember, the First Amendment is bonkers, he says, completely giving away the game, and it's such a dote he doesn't realize it. And he's saying this in the context of that ridiculous symposium that he and Meghan were parachuted into to mark World Mental Health Day. And he is parachuted in with the backing of some of the largest companies on earth. And in fact, the largest company on earth, BlackRock, well, the largest investment company on earth. And here is Harry giving the game away without even realizing it. There's a reason why no one is working in this space. The size and power of these companies can make you feel scared and helpless. We all understand that. Harry is actually, without realizing it, giving the game totally away because he is being backed by these companies. And he's not scared, nor is she, nor is he helpless, nor is Meghan. The fact of the matter is they are using the companies and the companies are using them to increase their stranglehold on all information to which the public would have access. Well, I mean, the whole thing has been such a joke that I do have to give it a little bit of a recap, because Harry and Meghan had a 7-car convoy to leave the garage underneath the Equinox Hotel in Hudson Yards, taking a left on 33rd Street, because it's a one-way system, to end up in another garage on 33rd Street, 200 feet away from the first. They could have walked it in 3 minutes flat. But of course, that would have denied them the opportunity of showing that we need security. We're so important. We're just so fabulous. I mean, we need a convoy of 7 cars to protect us. What are we getting as protection against them and their diatribes and their verbosity and their word salad and their rubbish? Oh, sadly, we're getting more of them. So you have these eco-conscious couple. Oh. Remember, you've got to be careful about your carbon footprint. But I don't have to be careful about mine because I'm important. You're not, so you better be careful. And we'll preach to you. Oh, just farcical. And did you notice what she had on? Did you notice evening wear in the daytime? Yet again. Now, I said this in my book. Meghan has no clue how to dress. My book being Meghan and Harry, the real story. She has no clue what is appropriate attire for any occasion. She was busy wearing evening wear to Trooping the Colour and to church services in the middle of the day in Britain. She's done the same thing in New York. She's worn a variation of the dress that she wore at the Ripple of Hope Awards. She's very proud of her big, broad shoulders, and they are good for clothes if you choose the right clothes. But to wear evening wear in the middle of the day, well, the middle of the afternoon, because the event was an afternoon event. I mean, who does that but a tart and a scrubber? I mean, the woman is so inappropriate at all times, it is beyond belief. And also, I don't know if you noticed, Catherine, on her equivalent events in Britain, wore a trouser suit with a jacket, one outfit for the whole day. Meghan and Harry, they stopped in Brooklyn first. And she wore spray on trousers because you might not have realized it, and I certainly don't realize it. But Meghan is of the firm opinion, and she knows it to be a fact, that she has the most fabulous figure that she's going to show at all times. Those legs, they're so long and shapeless. But she thinks shapeless legs are good. She thinks shapely legs are unattractive because she has shapeless legs. She thinks that is the benchmark, that is the absolute pinnacle of leggy beauty. And didn't she show it off? You know, there is something deeply disconcerting about a public figure who is supposed to have dignity and who is not supposed to be objectifying herself in terms of being a woman, because remember, Meghan complained about Deal or No Deal. She was being objectified physically, but she has, on 2 occasions in New York, on the 2 public engagements that she had, she objectified herself physically. The first time with displaying those mager leg and chicken foot, and the second time displaying the shoulders. I mean, look at me, I'm worth acquiring. Do you have enough money to be able to afford me? Because I'm an expensive chick. Yeah. Quality merchandise, that's what I am. Oh, yes. It's not when Harry met Sally. It's when Harry met Megsy baby. And billionaires stand in a row. Well, I'm going to read out 1 or 2 of the comments from the newspapers and magazines, how they headlined the visit. And this is going to show that despite Meghan and Harry's efforts to be taken seriously, they are treated as jokes. Except by Harper's Bazaar, whose headline was, Meghan Markle cements her fashion icon status in classy off-the-shoulder pantsuit. No, my dear, not only was I a Deansley student at the Fashion Institute in New York, not only was I, in my youth, a designer who supplied stuff to the 2 most chic boutiques in New York in the late 60s, being She and Abracadabra. But throughout my life, most people have been very kind about the way I present myself and the way I dress. And I am here to tell you that Carmel Snow and Diana Vreeland will be spinning in their graves to think that the magazine that they edited could come out with something as crass as a fashion icon status for dressing inappropriately. I'm sorry. Ridiculous. And as for the hair, I mean, when is she going to leave off trying to emulate Medusa? We all know, Megsy baby, that you are like Medusa. Stop reminding us. Town and Country was relatively neutral, but even they managed to get in a swipe because they said Meghan Markle and Prince Harry returned to New York City. Then subtext, the Sussexes are back in New York for the first time following their incident with the paparazzi earlier this year. Then you have the New York Post headline, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry return to New York after, quote unquote, near catastrophic car chase. Well, it was so catastrophic that they were limping along at 2 miles an hour. 2 hours to get 10 feet. And of course it confused them. They were confused. I think they must have had serious head colds at the time, because they thought it was 80 miles an hour for 2 hours. Of course, even the mayor didn't think that. But I'm going to get to what I have been told from somebody within the mayor's department. So hang fire for the moment. Then you have page 6. Prince Harry, Meghan Markle in NYC for first time since near catastrophic car chase. Are they ever going to be able to live that down? Poor Maxie Baby and H. Then you had Associated Press. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle say social media is harming kids and mental health, and teens' mental health. Well, that's fairly neutral. But then you have Fox News. Meghan Markle, Prince Harry return to New York, NYC for World Mental Health Day, months after alleged car chase. So, aside from Harper's Bazaar and Associated Press, everybody else managed to get the dig in. Well, I don't mean to exult, but the fact of the matter is, the whole thing was a study in indignity, opportunism, rampant exhibition of greed, and power grabbing for censorship. Look how important we are. Look, we're so important. We're going to tell you what to do because we know better than you. So, Adiza says, online children's safety and security has been ongoing for ages in the US. That's not new news. And the Meghan and Harry guys are not the innovators of such. That's right. Not only has this been an issue for ages, not only in the US, but all over the world, but there are tools in place that every parent has the ability to do what Harry and Meghan are trying to suggest. The powers that be should be doing for the parents. Talk about overreach. Jane Reed says, I think people need to be careful when it comes to the subject of online safety. Don't forget the UK has recently passed an online safety bill under the guise of child protection. Very well put. But it's looking like the true motive behind it is to gain powers of censorship. That's right. Pay attention to the language used when it's being discussed. That is, they don't just talk about children, but people, especially children, in quotes. It's important to read between the lines during these times because there is often an underlying sinister intent concealed behind the pretense of benevolence. But I'm here to tell you that one of Harry's closest relations has said to me that Harry and Meghan would have no problem whatsoever with the media if they were reporting things the way they want them to. That all of this is nothing but spoilt brats stamping their feet to shut up the world's media and the internet so that Harry and Meghan will have only nice things said about them, nothing critical, because they regard themselves as deserving of adulation because they are gods in their eyes. What they are, in fact, is hijackers. They have jumped on the bandwagon of genuine concern. Now, I happen to know people who have suffered terribly because of online abuse, or their grandchildren, and in one case, a child, ending up being affected detrimentally by falling into the wrong hands online. They are aware of the fact that they should have been more vigilant. It's not up to the state. It's up to the parent. Well, Harry and Meghan have been jumping on this bandwagon to create censorship through the fear of the consequences of negligence by the parents or those in charge of the children to do what they, the parents, should be doing to police their children's activities. And this is despite the fact that the number of people who have been detrimentally affected, and I'm not saying people haven't been, because young people have been encouraged to do the most dreadful things with sometimes disastrous consequences, but proportionately the number of people who have suffered is minuscule compared to the number of people who will suffer through censorship if Harry and Meghan have their way. Susan Clark says, Lady C, okay, is it just me, or did you think Meghan looked too skinny and tired in the pictures of her at H in NY today? Her hair was a mess. I don't think it was, honey. It's chic. You know, I'm just so chic that I have my tendrils. You know, you've got to give the message that I don't care, even though I care intensely, because I'm a denialist of the highest order. Her hair was a mess. She doesn't look healthy or happy. 6 covering, frankly, H looked bad, just not as bad as M. They rarely have page 6 covering this trip to an excess. I did notice that the first headline was removed pretty quickly. This is not an exact quote. Harry and Meghan in New York for first time since near catastrophic car chase. Geez. Well, I've not kept up with page 6's headlines. And Meghan is very proud of the way she looks. Meghan, remember, is Diana Mac too. So she needs to be able to, at some point, be able to pull an eating disorder out of her hat if it's required. And in the meantime, Meghan loves being skinny, always did. Somebody who's known Meghan very well all of her life said to me that why they think the surrogacy rumors had such traction was, aside from all the irregularities with the photographs, it is so apparent that Meghan would sooner die than gain a pound that she didn't have to gain. And certainly that they could not see Meghan disfiguring herself, running the risk of stretch marks, etc., etc. So, is she on something? Quite frankly, I couldn't give a continental damn. If she doesn't look well, good luck to her. Who cares? I certainly don't. I mean, I don't wish her ill, but if she wishes herself ill, who am I to stand between her and her just deserts? Noella Rash says, H looks defeated. Could it be the facade is over? Well, I'm going to tell you what a little birdie whispered to me. That Harry was tremendously put out when Meghan blindsided him by referring to him on stage as that one or this one. I forget which one it is that she said. When she said her two most important roles in life are being a mom and being wife to that one or this one. And my understanding is that Harry has for some time now been rather disaffected by the denigration that Meghan treats him with, not only privately, but publicly, to make it apparent that she rules the roost and reigns supreme, while he, little thing, is just there, somewhere. But as the person to whom I was speaking said to me, she catches him coming and going because she announces to the world that he is one of the most important people to her, and, or more accurately, the role of wife to the prince is one of the most important roles in her life. But he's just that one. He's not even deserving of a name. Well, let's see, because the denigration process for the feeding for the fodder of a narcissistic individual is very up and down, very taxing, very troubling, very perplexing, because depend on it, at the very moment there's the push and pull in, as was shown by that one statement. In one statement, she not only praised him to the sky, but flattened him to the ground. But she evidently does this quite a lot, and he has come to realize he doesn't like it, I am told. Oh dear, could there be trouble in paradise? Oh, or Romeo and Juliet not quite as loved up as everybody is supposed to believe? What do you think? Tracy Mars says, the Harkles' motto has always been to help you to help themselves. Love it. There isn't a single selfless act. Everything leads directly back to their bank account and their ego. Tracy Mars, I would not argue with that observation. Well, you know the expression, charity starts at home. Harry and Meghan are the living proof of that. Charity starts at home. Home is where the heart is. Heart reposes in my body. It's me. Well, you know, what is so disturbing about the way Harry and Meghan have inserted themselves into a serious narrative to glorify themselves, gain column inches, pose as if they are on a royal visit. And remember, William and Catherine are doing it in England, so Harry and Meghan have got to do it in the US, because remember, William and Catherine only have Britain and the Commonwealth. Harry and Meghan have the world. Well, you know, the very message that they gave in that symposium for the few minutes that they were on, because remember, this didn't take any great length of time. This was a photo op. This was about publicity for Harry and Meghan. But there was an innate contradiction in everything they did, because they say they are using Archibald to connect to the parents, but they are using social media to connect to the parents. But they want the social media regulated. So I suppose if Harry and Meghan have their way, you'd have to ask permission of Harry and Meghan, the great gods. Can I actually speak to somebody about this? Yes, please, 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 pretty please. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, H, what do you think? Ma says, it's all racism, it's all racism. I want to know why there were no parents on that panel. Why were there no experts to speak about the subject? Why were there no people who had experienced what the subject at hand? Why was it a druggy couple, both of whom have a long history where drugs are concerned, speaking about regulating and controlling the social media, because they're worried about what their children might actually stumble across on the media? Well, all those entities already have safeguards in place. If parents wish to relegate their responsibilities, they are being negligent. It's not up to the government to regulate and censor everybody so that negligent parents don't have to do their job. If they're so negligent, their children should be taken away from them and adopted out to families that are prepared to take care of them. As simple as that. Kim Jones says, people don't complain because the majority are busy working hard to just be able to survive the wave of made-up problems thrown at us. Kim Jones, you're absolutely right. But it's not only made-up problems, it is natural problems that arise. I mean, I'm too busy to have to deal with rubbish. And I don't have any young children at this point. Most people are too busy trying to keep a roof over their heads, to put food on the table, to fulfill their parental responsibilities, to then fight against political operatives and activists who are trying to deprive the average person of their civil liberties. Do you see why Meghan and Harry are so dangerous? Do you see why really they should be shut down? Because they are abusing their royal positions to try to alter the First Amendment in the United States and worldwide regulate what information the general populace will have access to. I mean, it's actually outrageous if you stop to think of it, that not only are they doing this, but they are doing this while they are sanctioned by the British royal family by being included on the royal website. Really, the royal family has got to take them off that website if it is not going to end up suffering a loss of respect and loss of regard from the public. If they are off the website and it's made absolutely clear that Harry and Meghan are rogue, that's one thing. But it's not being made clear at the moment that they are not being somewhat approved of by the royal family. And I say that because of their inclusion on the website, their continuing inclusion, notwithstanding the fact that they are breaching every single known rule, not only in terms of, and protocol, not only in terms of their activities as royals politically and socially, but also their activities in terms of the spiritual aspects of the monarchy, because they have shown that they have no appreciation of family values. I just make that point for what it's worth. Sharon Bennett says, from what I heard and read, Harry is supporting Hamas re-Israel. Is that true, Lady C? Can you address this, as I feel it's very important? Many thanks. I'm going to read what Kate French says and answer the two at once. My dear Lady C, there has been a huge uproar here in the US lately over a resurfaced interview that Harry did with Gabor Mate. Apparently, the discussion was about how Gabor defended Hamas rockets, allegedly even claiming that while they were aimed at civilian areas, that no civilians were ever seriously harmed. And he called the Israeli government terrorist. Now Netflix has announced that this season of The Crown will include the episode of Harry wearing the Nazi uniform, bringing all that back to the public front. Not to mention Harry calling the First Amendment bonkers has resurfaced as well. I mean, these atrocities are mind-boggling. It is being reported that if Charles does not cut ties publicly with Harry and Meghan, this will come back on him and the royal family. What do I think? I think that Harry and Meghan have involved themselves so extremely with left-wing political activities that, and this is why you do not want royals involving themselves in political matters. especially things as inflammatory as the problems with Hamas and Israel. In fairness to Harry and Meghan, I have not heard them actually support Hamas. Yes, he was involved with, remember, it was Penguin Random House that organized that. So Penguin Random House is the one who organized that talk between two of its authors, Gabor Mate and Harry. And the Middle Eastern situation is so dreadful and so volatile and so, quite frankly, gut-wrenchingly awful that I would prefer not to address it at all publicly, if you don't mind. It is too distressing and upsetting for words, and there is a very little that one could say that would not pour fuel on fire that one should really be trying to douse with water. I just think the whole situation is awful and dreadful. But has Harry supported Hamas? I don't think so. Not so far, at any rate. Also, I would find it very difficult to believe that Meghan would be supporting Hamas, notwithstanding her strong left-wing sympathies, although many left-wingers do support Hamas, because Ari Emanuel is Jewish. The Emanuel brothers are big supporters of Israel, and Meghan is the greatest supporter that ever existed of herself and her pocket and her self-interest. So I really don't see Meghan supporting anything but Israel until maybe a nice Palestinian billionaire worth as much money as Bill Gates sails into her harbour, in which case I'm sure she will discover a compunction or two that she doesn't yet know, or hasn't yet thought of, or has thought of, but hasn't actually decided it's in her interest to espouse. Shall we put it that way? Jumble Mumble says, Lady C, thank you for another informative and insightful video. I read that William and Catherine have brought in Dame Pippa Harris, that Lord William Hague has decided to focus on the Royal Foundation, and that an application was filed this year with the United States Patent and Trademark Office to protect the Royal Foundation's name for use with activities in the US, principally connected with mental health charities and their other initiatives. I applaud William and Catherine for bringing in people with fresh ideas, industry contacts, and expertise. Do you know if Charles has supported them to take charge of their own profile and operate in a more proactive and responsive way going forwards? I do. Yes. The King has been encouraging them, as indeed did the late Queen, because remember, until relatively recently, Catherine had very young children. I mean, Louis is only recently out of the toddler stage. Think about it. So, you know, William and Catherine have been preoccupied with a young family. Catherine more than William, obviously, because she's the mother. But yes, my understanding is that the king is very much behind Catherine and William going forward in espousing causes that they regard that are important and Charles happens to agree with. And he, both Charles and William are functioning in tandem, one for the present, the other for the future of the monarchy. Well, the monarch in present is concerned about the monarchy in the future, and the future monarch is concerned about not only the monarchy in the future, but in the present. So there is a tremendous amount of, shall we say, overlap in their interests, but not on a daily basis are they in and out of each other's pockets, but in terms of the overall picture, of course, they have to function in tandem, and they do. William Hague, I've met William Hague. He was the Conservative Party chairman. He was a very bright young man. He's had a very interesting career. He aspired to the heights and reached them too early, and he really didn't have the personality to be the leader that he was cast in the role of. But he's found his own level, and he's very good at what he does. And Pippa Harris, excellent, excellent. So what can I say? I think good on all of them. And we will end with J.K. Herford, who says, Lady C, I'm glad Misha's tea party went well. Did they serve the Lady C cocktail? J.K. Herford, they certainly did. Unfortunately, I didn't even get offered one, much less did I drink one. Misha told me what was in it, champagne and something else. And quite frankly, I was so preoccupied with doing what I was doing, being a hostess to the guests, that it didn't occur to me that I would have liked to have a sip of the drink. So, yes, other people had it. I didn't. I still don't know what it tastes like. But I will say Misha is supposed to be really good at creating cocktails. So people tell me. And I don't think they're telling me because I'm his mother. I think they're telling me because it is true. And he's very good at creating cocktails. So I'm sure it was nice. Maybe one of these days I will have the pleasure of tasting the Lady C cocktail. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to be speaking about. Okay, thank you so much. God bless. And if you have truly enjoyed this, could you please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and Godspeed.